coordinating and doing, right? Guys, you have to be bold enough because here, how you speak to someone is how they'll respond to you, right? So if you're trying to ask someone about their relationships, their sexual relationships, you should be as blunt as saying, "Are you in multiple sexual relationships?" Right? Yeah.
Um, so climate change is one of the most serious threats to the public health, to human health. So I would look at it in a way that how it connects with SRH. R is when you look at climate change, the climate crisis, where we have different weather events like drought, floods, and everything, that makes young people, it limits the accessibility of people to go to healthy facilities, to look for condoms and so many others, which increases STIs, and also when you look at people that have climate change concerns, for example, climate activists, they would resist from using latex condoms because they're made from natural rubber, so which doesn't leave alternatives, and also that's with the environment of condoms.
All right. Thank you very much.
Uh, Climate change in relation to, I want to relate it to the reproductive systems. As we all studied the reproductive system, there is the male reproductive system. So in the male reproductive system, there is the scrotal sacs. So those sacs, they be hanging below. Yeah, they be hanging below. The reason is that for spermatogenesis to occur, that's sperm formation, there's an appropriate temperature that is required. So, in relation to climate change, in hot weather, or let's say when it's sunny, the temperatures tend to go high. Yeah, when the temperatures are high, so high, it doesn't favor sperm formation. So you find that, okay, there are physiological methods that the body generates for it to provide what comfortable conditions for that sperm formation. So I want to bring it in a way that the climate affects sperm formation, in that when there are those temperatures that are favorable, and when those temperatures are there, there is high sperm formation. Therefore, reproduction is high. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
I feel like climate change indirectly affects sexual reproductive health in the way that when there's climate change, it affects weather patterns. So when weather patterns are affected, there could be things like natural disasters, um, environmental degradation, where in the long run you see that people are displaced from their areas, there's limited access to health services and all that, so it comes back to sexual reproductive health, thus affecting it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm trying to answer that. Um, the climate change in relation to SRHR. Maybe sometimes when the weather is too cold, it makes people have unwanted pregnancies. Because if, for example, if I and the sweetheart feel it is too cold, the weather is too cold, these people prefer to be together for warmth, to warm one another. And at the end, of that weather situation, they go into sexual intercourse, and that's how it relates to SHR. There is a hand here. Well, thank you so much. Some climate changes hinder movement. For example, when we have landslides in those areas that we know, floods, some people are hindered to access some services. For example, expectant mothers giving birth, they are hindered in their movement of accessing that, and that's how it relates to SRHR.
Okay.
I have one also.
So since we have, Genesis, hold on. Since we have very many hands, how many of us are having our answers around the coldness and people doing? No? Okay. Yes, Genesis. Then after.
Okay, I think maybe when it is hot, it can influence pad using. Like someone can prefer not to use the menstrual pad. I'm not so sure, but I'm just thinking. And another thing that I'm so sure about, it is when it is so hot, there is dust, dust on the road. So when girls are moving with their skirts and the dust goes up there, yes, I am sure about this, guys. Yes, there is.
Okay, thank you, Genesis.
There was in the news where a woman in Buyuko was complaining about the dusty roads, and she was saying, "Akatogo kom skati karumira." Yes.
Okay, thank you, Genesis.
For me, the way I refer climate change refers to the intersection between climate issues and the whole being of individuals, particularly in terms of their sexual and reproductive health.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
Well, to me, according to how climate change relates with SRHR, one, in communities, for example, in Karamoja, we have faced situations of lack of clean water. And remember that water is one of the key factors for a hygiene reproductive system, especially for the ladies or even for the males. So that is one way climate change can. Two, climate change also influences the gender tendencies. For example, during times of cold, like drought, women are being told by their husbands to go journeys to fetch water. Young girls are being told to move journeys to fetch water, which in the end affects their general health, and at the same time maybe they get challenges like they are molested on their long journeys, as we have seen most on the news. Young kids are getting challenged. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 4, finally 5.
Okay, according to me,
Very fast.
according to me, I believe one's general health contributes to their sexual reproductive health. So, under the context of climate change, in case of droughts, there's going to be low productivity of the soils, whereby it's not easy to grow food. So if there is not enough food, it will be so hard for a pregnant mother to have enough food for the nutrients needed for her body and for the baby coming up. So I believe that is how climate change somehow affects or relates with SRH.
All right, thank you.
Mine is a bit related as well. So I'm looking at the high rates of climate change causing low productivity, which eventually affects the feeding habit of the people. So eventually in women, we're going to see the hormonal changes and a lot of hormonal imbalances among the people.
All right, thank you. There's a hand here.
For me, in climatic change, in terms of disaster, relating to disaster, it might be very hard to emotional. It impacts emotionally. Now let's say there has been a landslide or any natural disaster that leads to that impacts that affects people emotionally. which sometimes affects the women emotionally, and it might hinder them to conceive somehow. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, according to me, climate change is mainly as a result of human activities, and it is related to SRHR. Okay, for example, we have, my answer is evaporating. It is related to SRHR in a way that my answer is evaporating.
Wechigana, you say it in your local language. Say,
Okay, we have it is mainly as a result of the rapid population growth resulting from early marriages, teenage pregnancies, no family planning. I think it is something like that, which leads to activities such as deforestation, those ones that lead to climate change.
okay, thank you very much. You and then
Natasha said the point. However, to add on it, it's about production, food production, due to like climate change. For instance, if it's so hot, the production of food is limited. For instance, if we are in an area where the people affected with HIV, if they don't eat well or healthy, it will affect their well-being, because even if they take their medication, it won't really work well in their systems because they lack food.
Okay, so climate change it's related to SRHR in a way that that changing weather patterns have an effect on the reproductive system and the sexual health of people. Just like Leah had said, when the tendencies of the heat going high, just like it is most of these days, men face a challenge of low sperm count. So, and this could result into infertility, yet it has been sparked off by weather changes. And also, let me say, tendencies of heavy rainfalls. They breed mosquitoes, and so the rates of malaria go high, just like it has been. So these mosquitoes, when like they attack, let me say, pregnant women, they get infected with malaria, and it's their illness is a risk to their pregnancy. So it brings about issues of reproductive health. Yeah.
okay, thank you very much. So we are going to go through a simple exercise. What do we believe causes climate change? Is it high populations? Is it human activities? Population growth? Anyone? So we believe it's caused by population growth. Human activities? Okay. So for the next step, we are going to go through, I don't call it a game, but it's an exercise developed by an organization now. It's called an organization called the Climate Frisk. Yeah? So Climate Frisk is a concept that was developed by someone called Frederick. The other name is very hard for me to say, but the individual is based in France. So the Frisk simply helps you to understand not why your neighbor behind there is sleeping for some reason, but it helps you to know the science that is behind climate change, right? So over the years, we have had increase in temperatures. I think last year was really, really hot, right? And that's one of the very notable things that we can see about climate change, right? Who knows the rate, or to what extent temperatures have changed over the years? Anyone? Yeah? From 1990 up to now, what is the average temperature change globally? Yeah? So all the heat you are experiencing is because the temperature of the globe has changed by 1.5 degrees. Just 1.5. So it sounds small, right? I mean, what is 1.5? What is the difference between 22 and 23? But you have experienced on your own. You have seen how seasons have changed, right? You've seen how patterns have changed. Ideally, in the past years, you would say January had no rain, right? But right now, we have people who are probably planting their crops, or they're having very heavy rainfalls, right? So climate change does not happen towards one direction. So it's not really just about global warming. It's not really about just the heat, right? So in what we are going to do, we are going to understand how exactly these weather patterns happen and how we contribute to all this, and how exactly that comes back to lead to what we are experiencing. From the exercise we've just had, I would just like to note one thing from way back. Let us understand that SRHR is beyond reproductive health. Yeah? Many of you, it's going to be sad to come from the academy and you're understanding your SRHR in terms of reproductive health only, right? So we have sexual health, you have reproductive health, right? So even if you say SRH, so that's about the health part. The R is just for rights, which is a conversation that is broad. But you should understand from the sessions you've had, you should revisit, or after the sessions you have here, you should go back and read further. What does SRHR entail, right? How does it go beyond what I think in reproductive health, maternal health, child health, right? Because it's as broad as that. It's not just about how exactly you interact with teenage pregnancies. And as advocates, as people who are going to do awareness creation, you should be able to understand all those patterns. So I know we have 8 groups? 6 groups, yeah? But we are going to form 5 groups, yeah? So for those 5 groups, for starters, let's try and have, how many are we here? 60, 61 today? Yeah, so let's have 12 people per group, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to get this and this, right? To form a kind of a platform that looks like a table. Make sense? Does it make sense? But you guys scored very highly on your application, so I know you are smart people. Have you understood? So 5 sections. Take leadership, call in people, and we start. So yeah, so if you've done this, that means form a table that is long enough, yeah? 5 sections. Let us have first wait, first hold. Whoever is pulling chairs, first hold. Who wants to lead a group? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So look for those hands and make sure you are part of those groups. So whoever put up their hand to lead a group, put up your hand and make sure you collect your table. So you are here? Genesis, put your group that side. You can't be with Kia because she also has a group. Eh? You can't be with her because she also has a group. So you move to this side. Form a table. I want to see a table. Continuous. Alright? Form a table. A table, there is no table that has a hole in the middle. It could be there, but I don't know. Yeah, so you're going to be standing. You guys sit every day. You've been sitting for the past, I don't know. If you feel like you can sit, you can sit. Genda wali, a group here. Form a table. Where is your table, madam? Guys, a table is joined. It's not. I don't know what this is. Table, make sure these things are together. How many are you here? Are you 12? Complete the table. I don't know why you are sitting, but you know. Otherwise. So you do not you don't have to be seated. You don't have to be seated. Right? The exercise is going to require you to move around. So you don't have to be seated. Okay? You don't have to be seated. How many are you here? How many are you here? 13, eh? Can one person join that group? Okay, let us all sit down in our groups. Do not move. Sit down in your group. For now, first sit. In your group, first sit. I want to see everyone seated. First sit in your group. You first, yeah, you can first pull it out. Just briefly. Are we all seated? Let's be seated and let's be quiet, yeah? Let's first be seated and let's be quiet. Okay. Let's face the front. Let's listen up. Instructions, eh? Instructions, guys. Are you listening? Sebo. Okay, these are the instructions. For whoever is talking, I'm not going to repeat. We shall take your photo as you put out your tongue. Yeah. So before we start our exercise, yeah, we have our partners who have availed us a lot of support under the PA Educators Academy over the years, right? And they are going to first speak to us just briefly. So I would like you to join your hands as we welcome the team.